Sit and chat with developer Paul McKee and his wife Midge McKee. They're getting ready for the Northside Redevelopment project. When it was all said when you were putting this together, did it start reasonably small and then get big? I mean, because when you start throwing around billions of dollars, that's kind of a big number.
Well, no, it did not start small because you must match the redevelopment with the blight, and the blight is huge, and it's many, many acres. So, no, I originally drew a circle around a bigger piece of ground, but we finally settled on 1,500 acres of the north side. And to be able to do that, you don't think of it in terms of the billions of dollars. So we never dreamed that this would be something we would do alone. You can't redevelop this part of a city, 2 people or 20 people. It takes a whole community to do it.
The plan is what?
The plan is 1,500 acres, of which today we own about 270 of it or have it under contract, and we will affect about 40% of the 1,500 acres. And the idea is to regenerate it. That's why we use the name Regenerate. And we're community builders, McGraw. The idea is LifeWorks is our brand. If you can live, learn, work, play, and pray in the same community, your life works. Well, to be able to rebuild community, which is really important to us, it takes 2 basic, really important things. One, economic diversity. And if you went to Winghaven or anywhere like that, you could see that we have housing that goes everything from low income to apartments all the way up to $1 million houses. So economic diversity will then drive all other kind of diversity. Once you have that, then how do you build community? You got to get people bumping into each other. And in the city, it's on the sidewalk. So we got to rebuild the sidewalk. 90% of the sidewalks in this area are shot, and the people have to walk in the streets, the street lights the same way. So there's a lot of those kind of things that we have to rebuild.
Also, just sewers and water and gas lines. I mean, all that stuff's crumbling. You have to dig all that up and put it all back in.
Yeah, the infrastructure, that's why the TIF is so large. The engineers took 2 years to go assess everything. And what they came back with, the needs were $1.2 billion.
Just in infrastructure.
Just for the infrastructure, streets, sewers, water, parks, schools, those kind of things. And what we said is we can't afford it. So we worked backwards, and we literally said, if we can do this project, which is 3.5 million square feet of office, 2 million square feet of retail, 1 million square feet of industrial tech center, and 3,000 housing units, that TIF will generate enough tax to equal $394 million. We then gave that to the engineers back in the interest off and said, that's all the money you got. So we then prioritized what streets, sewers, sidewalks, and that we could repair.
And so the idea is to start with this 1,500 or start with the 40% of the 1,500, and then you sort of fix the infrastructure, and then other developers will then come along?
We hope so, absolutely. That's our plan. And very much like in Winghaven, we didn't build everything in there by any stretch of the imagination or develop everything, and we never dreamed that on the north side.
No.
So
we always thought we'd have partners.
You can't rebuild areas like this without rebuilding the infrastructure first. The street, sewers, water, all that kind of thing. And that's first. And that first phase of the TIF is almost $100 million. And the idea is to redo Jefferson, redo Cass, and beautify them. And what literally came out of somebody's mouth in one of our interviews was beauty draws and fear withdraws. Beauty draws and fear withdraws. So we need to create beauty on the north side right out of the box in the infrastructure.
Somebody at a meeting just stood up and said that.
Well, this was actually in a focus group that we hired a group out of Memphis some 6 years ago, and this came out of one of the focus groups.
Yeah.
Yes.
You were also criticized for not listening to the people who live there, and you said you went and spoke at all these different community centers and everything else. What valid criticism? Did that change? Was there any validity to that criticism that you didn't listen to the people at first?
I think there's some validity to
I
it.
would say yes, there probably was. Yeah, there probably was, and we sat and chatted about it, and somebody suggested to us that maybe we start meeting with the community, and we began, and golly Moses, have we met some wonderful people.
Right. And I suspect some pretty good suggestions along the way?
Incredible suggestions.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think they wanted to just know that we heard them.
Well, I think one is on security, and I think it would be good to share with you. We didn't dream up going to meet with the people on our own.
No.
There was a woman that called us 6 years ago and asked if we would come and meet with her and 8 or 10 of her friends and relatives. And I thought, oh, wow, this was after the article came out. So we decided to do it, and I was leaving that night. It was like a 7:30 meeting on the north side in the wintertime, and Midge says, I'm going to go with you. And
I figured I was going to begin to spend a lot of time at home alone, so I might as well go along.
So her and I went.
Best thing that ever happened.
Yeah, we went, and we met these 10 or 12 wonderful people, and they had a jillion questions, and they were shocked that we would come meet with them. So that began the 150 meetings. So if we're asked where, with everything from church basements to sitting around dining
Kitchen
room tables, we've
yeah.
met some phenomenal people.
Let's talk about Crown Candy for a second, because
Sure.
Crown Candy is an enigma, because it's still
landmark.
going strong.
It's a landmark.
And they've really tried to redevelop that area a little bit.
Yes.
Hasn't gone very well. It's been, the storefronts are there, but businesses haven't moved in. Are you afraid that this is not guaranteed to work?
Oh, no, not at all. What I would say is we will enhance. That's called the Old North Restoration District, and they've really worked hard and done a good job with that 14th Street Mall. But what we will do is rebuild a lot of the infrastructure around them. We touch them on North Florissant. They're not included in our redevelopment plan, but we're on one side of North Florissant and they're on the other. So we've been working with them now for about the last 4 years in a very good way. We still own, mid 60, 70 parcels in the Old North area. We're trying to work out some sort of a swap so that they can end up with those parcels as well. So I believe we will enhance what they're doing.
Is there going to be room enough? I know I have to break. Is there going to be room enough for, I'm going to say this wrong, but big box developments, Targets, Walmarts, Walgreens, IKEAs?
Bring them on.
Is there going to be room enough to sort of fit that in there somewhere?
Bring them on.
Really?
Yes, that's you got to realize we're about jobs, number one. We think jobs bring dignity, and dignity really is what's at the basic core of a community and a family. So we bring jobs. So the most important thing is the job creation. But you have to realize the closest supermarket on the north side is 7 miles away. And the healthcare is the same way. It's very, very difficult. The two biggest needs are healthcare and food on the north side.
What about, all right, we got a break. That's Paul McKee and Midge McKee with us. We're talking about the North Side Regeneration Project, which is now full steam ahead after 4.5, 5 years of litigation. All of that has been decided, full steam ahead. We'll talk more about that coming up here. Paul McKee and Midge McKee here on the Big 550 KT.